big story when it comes to a Hollywood couple that we've seen for decades on. Well, they were on at some point, and then they were off, and then they were just recently back on. And that is, if you recall, Bennifer. That was something we to nickname them about a decade ago. Well, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have wed in a Las Vegas drive-through, and this was on Saturday late night in Las Vegas. And essentially, this is a relationship that stretched over 2 decades and 2 separate romances and headlines, which would make the tabloids. And of course, since they were together when they were first engaged back in 2010, and they decided to not go through with their wedding, well, you had Ben Affleck, who got married, had 2 children, and Jennifer Lopez also got married and had children, and then they had she had other partners, and then just recently, not too long ago, they were back together. Jennifer Lopez announced the marriage on Sunday in her newsletter, and I received that newsletter, and she says, "We did it." And this is what she says is, and in her quote, she says, "Love is beautiful, love is kind, and it turns out love is patient. 20 years patient is what her message signed off." And now she's Jennifer Lynn Affleck. And that's a long time in the making when it comes to the couple. Well, they flew to Las Vegas on Saturday, and they stood in line for their license with 4 of their other couples who were there to be, who were also there to be wed. And just after midnight in the little white wedding chapel, a chapel that has a drive-through called the Tunnel of Love, well, the 2 of them essentially got wed. And this is, here's a statement here. It goes by Lopez. She says, "Stick around long enough and maybe you'll find the best moments of your life in a drive-through in Las Vegas at 12:30 in the morning in the Tunnel of Love drive-through with your kids and the one you'll spend forever with." And that's really nice to hear. Jennifer Lopez is 52 years old. Ben Affleck is 49 years old. They famously dated in the early 2000s, and if you recall, their nickname was Bennifer. And they rekindled their romance just last year. And even though earlier in they made some movies together and they made some songs, and we're going to go into those songs in just a moment. But this was a time where they're back together. And if you recall, back in the early 2000s when they were engaged to be wed, and people were expecting a massive wedding, and then it was called off and it just never happened. And perhaps this is the way to go when you have something small and when your relationship is, as authentic and as long-lasting as theirs. Well, maybe the drive-through is the best way to get wed. And so I'm going to take you back in time to 2010 when Jenny from the Block came out, and this was the first time Ben Affleck was in one of her music videos, and it's on the yacht, and everybody, the media, everybody just went wild over it. And that was the height of their career, height of their romance and in their career, where they were known as Bennifer. So let's take you back 12 years, and here's the song. And on that, we're going to end today's show. I'm Ramona Singh. Until tomorrow, take care and be well.